Join us today for an action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, where Matt and I present our award winners for the 2023 season.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you do that for us. And if you do decide to do that for us, take a screenshot of your 5-star rating and review and email it to us at fantasymds@gmail.com for a chance to win a spot in our coveted listener league for next season. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel. Also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, join us on the Subtext website in our Diamond Club. In the Diamond Club this offseason, you're going to get access to all of our rankings, our bust, breakout, sleepers, and all of that stuff way earlier than you would get it anywhere else. So make sure you join us on Subtext today in the Diamond Club. And real quick, we got to talk to you about one of today's sponsors. It is Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, always guaranteed. And Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. And we usually say we'll be your team secret weapon, but you know what? The season's pretty much over, and we hope we helped you win a Locked On Fantasy Baseball championship. But today, Matt and I are giving out our awards for the 2023 season. And Matt, we got to start off with MVP. And I think there's only one way to go with this one. Matt, who do you have as your MVP for this fantasy baseball season?
Well, let's talk about him. Ronald Acuna. I think it's for both of us. There's no question. Yeah. Historic season. Like 40 runs, 40 home runs, 70 bombs. I mean, 70 ribs. I'm losing. I can't even put my words right. It's just, it's unfathomable. But 40 home runs, 71 stolen bases. He just mind-blowing season. If you had him in fantasy this year, you probably got him at a discount too, because he was probably going 4th, 5th pick in some of these platforms, because everybody was like, I don't know, the ACL, he didn't have a good year the year before. One of the biggest bounce back players of all time comes back and smacks you up with exactly what we thought his upside would be. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be 40-70. I figured 40-40 was kind of like going to be a nice peak for him. It's still, that's unfathomable. But 40-70, man, Ronald Acuna just put on a season, took you to most championships, if not won you the championship. Ronald Acuna, congratulations.
Yeah, Matt, we're in sync on this award. I'm giving my MVP to Ronald Acuna Jr. as well. I'm just going to read you off these numbers because, as Matt said, they're unfathomable. This is video game numbers right now. It's just MLB The Show when you create a player and you give them the best stats that you possibly can type numbers.
And you put it on easy.
Yeah, and you play on easy mode too. So 155 games for Acuna, 634 at-bats, 143 runs, 213 hits, 34 doubles, 4 triples, 41 home runs, 104 RBIs, 70 stolen bases. He walked 78 times, only struck out 82 times, a 336 batting average, a 414 OBP. He slugged almost 600 at 596, and his OPS was over 1,000. So, Ronald Acuna, shout out to you, man. Monstrous season. He created his own club, the 40-70 club. I don't think anyone ever thought that was even possible. But not much else to say, Matt. You did a good job breaking him down, and he is the consensus number one pick for 2024. So let's move on. Let's talk about Cy Young. Some people might have a little beef with this one because shout out to Garrett Cole, I'm not giving my Cy Young to. I'm giving it to Blake Snell, man. I got to give it to my dog, Blake Snell. A huge monstrous season, and just he finished so strong. I believe it's over his last 23 starts, 3 earned runs or less in all of them. He was hardly hittable over those over those starts on the year. Blake Snell, 14 wins, 9 losses, a 2.25 ERA, 32 starts, 180 innings, 234 strikeouts, and a 1.18 whip, which looks a lot more respectable than it did 2-3 weeks ago, because Blake Snell isn't even, his walks have looked a lot better recently. No one's hitting him at all. He's just been super consistent. If you held on to him through his, I think his first 5 or 6 starts are pretty rough. You made out like a bandit. If you bought low on him, made out like a bandit. Shout out to Blake Snell. Gonna 99.999% chance he's gonna get his second Cy Young award. And next year, top 10 arm for me. I know some people are hating on him and saying, oh, well, this, that, and the next thing. All right, he's been super consistent for the last over a year and a half. He's won a Cy Young already. He's going to be 31 next year. I think he's getting a little bit more into the game, a little bit more head in the game, a little bit more of a student of the game these days, because he's worked on a lot. His changeup looks so much better than it did last year. But shout out to Blake Snell, my Cy Young Award winner. Matt, who do you got?
I had Blake Snell too. I mean,
there we go.
The only reason it is Blake Snell is because we're talking fantasy. We're not talking real baseball. Blake Snell had more of an impact down the stretch for me based off of the fact of where I drafted him. So I didn't have to get him in the first 2 rounds. I got him in like the 5th. So like that's the difference with Blake Snell versus a Garrett Cole, who clearly is going to win probably the real baseball AL and MV Cy Young. There's a difference here. We're talking fantasy here. We're a fantasy baseball show. So Blake Snell was my Cy Young winner just based off of the fact alone. And quite honestly, I feel he deserves it in the NL. So Blake Snell just had a phenomenal.
There's no way he doesn't take it.
You know who I think might get it, and that's going to be Steele. But I mean,
he got lit up. He got lit up in his last start. So I think Snell's got it locked up.
I really hope you're right. I mean, Blake Snell deserves it, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. But quite honestly, for fantasy baseball, Blake Snell is hands down, unequivocally, the fantasy baseball Cy Young winner. And before we move on, and we get in all these other juicy categories, I have somebody to talk about. The MLB playoffs are around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance for 100 times payout on your cash for fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now, with studs like Acuna, Betts, Ohtani. Pick higher or lower on their stats for these stars like home runs, hits, strikeouts, and more, and earn up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you can win big. Dom and I love Sleeper not only for its easy-to-use fantasy platform and picks, but also for the fastest alerts on the planet. And you can get them for fantasy football and baseball for call-ups or injuries to beat somebody to the waiver wire. But back to the picks. Entries can be made in under a minute, so you can get your last-minute bets in all at the same time and as quick as possible and not miss out on the action. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See terms and details for Sleeper. All right. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an awesome opportunity for you to help support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing the Diamond Club on Subtext. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but gain access to exclusive benefits. Now that we're in the off season, you're going to be able to get access to our rankings. We're no longer going to put them on our website because our website is no longer active, unfortunately. So the only way you're going to be able to get them is through Subtext. You're going to get our redraft rankings, our dynasty rankings, our rookie rankings, bus lists, breakout lists, sleeper picks, lottery picks, and not Powerball, but it is what it is. That's good luck. And so much more for off-season stuff that you're not going to want to miss out. So on top of all that, you get direct access to us to ask us all those questions that have been burning up about your team and how you should go about 2024 and approaching the draft. So join us on Subtext, and we're excited to connect with you and, really bring you along on this journey in 2024 for this awesome, awesome season. Join Subtext now. It only takes about 5 seconds, and you get the first 14 days free. All right. Dom, take that. That was a lot.
Got you, brother. Got you covered here. So we're moving on to our next award, and it's going to be Pickup of the Year. So this one, there's a lot of great names that we could have went to, but I have to go with one of my boys, and I'm going Nolan Jones of the Colorado Rockies, right? My boy Nolan Jones, we were telling you to pick him up for a very long time. Hopefully you did. I know that not this week, but last week he had a monster week. He had a 3-steal game. He had a couple of homers, helped me bring home a couple of championships. So let's talk about the 25-year-old Nolan Jones once again of the Colorado Rockies. 102 games played this year, 350 at-bats, 58 runs, 21 doubles, 4 triples, 19 homers, 57 RBIs, 17 steals, and a 291 batting average. So if you average those out for around 150 games, talking maybe a little over 600 at-bats, that's 30-30. He's right on par for a 30-30 type of guy. He hits just as well away from cores as he does in cores, which you really don't see very often. Love the power speed combo. Honestly, he's going to be one of my favorite picks next year. Hopefully, you can get him as like an outfielder 3 utility bat type of guy. I honestly think he's going to have a monster breakout season next year. He's always been pretty good in the minors too. He's never really showed off as much speed as he has here in the majors, but they're letting him run with those 4 triples and 17 steals, showing me that speed is pretty legit. Always hit for a solid batting average in the minors, and I love Nolan Jones. Definitely somebody to keep your eye on, keep the name in your head for next season.
Yeah, Nolan Jones has just been one of our guys all year long, especially for Dom. Way more than me. I really didn't see this kind of output coming from him, but man, oh man, did he pan out. Nolan Jones right now, it's actually kind of crazy. I did some rankings. If you didn't listening yesterday, I did some rankings. I started it, and Nolan Jones is, being put pretty nicely in my first baseman rankings at number 6 overall right now.
I think you got him even higher than me, brother.
Yeah, for first base. I mean, Nolan Jones looks really good. He had a really good season. It's a name you're going to want to write down, because if you're going to forget about him, man, you're going to be very sorry you did. But let's move on. Let's talk about my best pickup for the year. And I think, honestly, this one tops yours, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
And that's Josh Jung. Josh Jung was somebody that kind of came out of left field. He was a top prospect, don't get me wrong. So, you're like, Matt, how did you see that coming? But, to be honest, I really just didn't think he was going to be this good. I figured it might have taken him some time, if not at ever, because I just wasn't really bought in on the young experience here. But after seeing Jung perform the way he did, there's no way he's not a top 5 to top 4 third baseman next year. Jung has so much going for him, and his numbers were incredible, even with missing a month and a half. Okay, in 465 at-bats, he had 74 runs, 23 bombs, 70 ribs, a stolen base about a 271. Josh Jung really showed out, and the second he came back early from his injury to help you win that championship, he picked up right where he left off. He didn't miss a beat, which tells me that this kid is the real deal. And on top of that, he plays for the Rangers. That team is only getting better. So his opportunity for counting stats in terms of ribbies and runs are only going to be, multiplied next year as they keep bringing up all these great prospects and keep building. And it looks like they're going to keep trying to add to this team through free agency as well. They're not afraid to go out and pay somebody. So Josh Jung can have more great talent around him, like Corey Seager and Simeon. So let's see what happens with the Rangers themselves. And quite honestly, too, I think that batting average takes a step up as well for next year. In the minors, he had a 326. This is going to be better. But back to why I think he gets the award for us, because I went off on a tangent. See how much I love him. Quite honestly, I think that just Jung came out, showed out, and literally won you weeks some weeks. 3 home run weeks, 4 home run weeks. Batting average was pretty damn good. Just showed out all season long. And this kid's going to be even better next year.
Yeah, man, I'm a big fan of Jung too. As we like to talk about here, he's a big boy, 6'2", 214. I think there's another level to that power. I think he could be an easily 30 home run type of guy next year, and hitting in that Rangers lineup, he could have over 100 RBIs as well. So, great take on Jung there, Matt. Let's keep things moving there, because you did awesome. Let's go to Rookie of the Year. And this one, this is like the MVP. There's just one guy who's kind of, arms and legs above the rest, and it's Corbin Carroll. he really, really lived up to the hype. Not many prospects do, but you know what? Corbin Carroll certainly has. So let's talk about him. At 22 years old, forget how young he is. 152 games, 554 at-bats, 115 runs, 29 doubles, 9 triples, 25 homers, 76 RBIs, 51 steals as a 22-year-old rookie, Corbin Carroll, and a 285 batting average. I think he solidified himself as a first-round pick next year. I think, especially in those 12, 15-man leagues, I don't see him making it out of the first round, honestly, and it's all the upside is there. He hits all the bells and whistles. The steals are going to be amazing. The only category that's a little bit suspect is the RBIs, but that Diamondbacks team looks like it's just going to keep getting better and better. I wouldn't be surprised if they went out there and made a couple of moves this offseason to get a couple of more, nice bats in that lineup. And there's a reason Corbin Carroll was the number one prospect coming into the year. He showed it all off, does everything. Not really much else to say here besides shout out to Corbin Carroll for living up to the hype and, taking a lot of fantasy baseball teams to a championship.
Yeah, no, and the best part about this was you probably got him like around pick 100 in most redraft leagues, and you probably walked away with a steal if you took the chance, because sometimes gambling pays off. Because this could have went two ways. This either could have went really bad or it looked like this, or like this was just amazing, and Corbin Carroll really did thrust teams to the next level. So, Corbin Carroll 100% is the MLB Rookie of the Year. Because even on the other side, I don't even see anybody that even comes close to him. I wish they could just give him to both. Like, he should just win both. He's just the best rookie all year. But yeah, there's nobody else for me on this because clearly you can see how much I love Corbin Carroll. But let's talk about
it has to be him. Has to be him.
Yeah. Now let's talk about most improved players. And I got a great name. And guys, don't think I'm a Philly fan. I do like him.
Homer pick.
I wouldn't call it Homer. I've only lived here about 5 years, but sure. Let's go with
I'm messing around.
I know everybody loves to give me stuff because now I live out here and everybody's mad I moved away. But I'm gonna go with Bryson Stott. Stott, it's not like he didn't perform last year, but quite honestly, I feel like up until the playoffs, he really didn't show what he could potentially do. And he kind of still slipped under the radar because the whole first half of this year, I really didn't believe in him. I really didn't think he was going to keep this up. I really thought he was overperforming. But he really showed out this year. And honestly, I get to watch a lot of Phillies. Honestly, my wife watches more baseball than I do. It's actually hysterical. I don't think she's missed a single game this year.
Jeez.
But,
shout out to Morgan.
She's a huge sports fan. I love my wife. And so Bryson Stott is not only good at baseball, but he's really clutch. He actually gets hits when he needs to. He's a really good baseball player. And the numbers are showing it because he went from 58 runs last year to 77, 15 bombs from 10. He also 61 runs, ribbies from 49, 31 stolen bases from 12. Batted 279 from a measly 234. Everything improved. And honestly, too, to start the season, their manager got super cute against lefty matchups, lefty righty in the lineup, did all this stupid stuff that I hate that managers do in the MLB that I think is so minuscule and over managing and micromanaging. It's just really frustrating. And Stott did not benefit from any of it and didn't get an everyday role probably until the end of May, where he was consistently getting the exposure. And the second that he got let loose, it was over. Bryson Stott really took that step forward, and next year is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, Matt, before I jump in, and I want to talk a little bit of Bryson Stott as well. I give my most improved player. Then we're going to get into comeback players, and I think we're even going to do our bust of the year as well, because it looks like we're going to have time for it. I need to talk to you about one of today's sponsors. And let's talk about DoorDash. Love the convenience of getting what you want right to your door. With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order last-minute cravings conveniently. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered or they'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $20 value when you use the code LOCKEDONMLB at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply, and once again, that's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code LOCKEDONMLB. Once again, don't forget that code is LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. All right, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bryson Stott here. And I mean, honestly, such a sneaky good year. Bryson Stott's name is not a name that I heard a lot this year. Nobody was really talking about him, even though he was having such a strong year. He was like not a highly touted prospect, but going into last year, he had a good spring training. So a lot of people were talking about him. The hype was real. And then he came out and he really didn't perform as expected. So you probably, if you picked Bryson Stott this year, you probably got him like last pick of your draft type of ordeal. Or, you just picked him up off the waiver wire because he probably wasn't drafted in some leagues as well. And he's looked so much better. Matt read you off the stats. I think the most impressive one to me is going from a 234 batting average to a 280 batting average. And those steals have come monstrously for Stott. He's going to be a staple in that Phillies lineup for years to come. And I think he's going to be a sneaky pick next year too, because I don't think too many people are going to realize how good of a year he had this year. But let me move on to my most improved player. Let's talk about Spencer Torkelson. Another guy, he probably got a little bit more, talked about this year than Stott did, but still another guy that I think has kind of fallen under the radar. Such a monster improvement from last year for Torkelson. Another guy, he was really highly touted prospect. I believe he was a top 5 prospect there for a couple of years. So Torkelson, 154 games, 586 at-bats, 85 runs, 34 doubles, a triple, 29 homers, 90 RBIs, and a 232 batting average. That's where I think he has a little bit of room to improve. He could be a Max Muncy type of guy, like a prime Max Muncy, where he hits 250-ish, 30-plus homers. I think this Detroit team is going to be a little bit better, but even on a bad Detroit team, he still managed to have 90 RBIs and 85 runs. So imagine that Detroit team improves. He could be around 95 runs and 100 and plus RBIs. So, he'll be contributing in 3 categories very well. If that batting average comes up to a 250, he's absolutely not killing you there. He's really not going to steal too many bases, but he's a chipped in 3. So I love Torkelson's prospects for next year. He's only 23 years old, going to be 24 next year. Was absolutely, very, very dominant down in the minors. That 2021 season for Torkelson in the minors, 121 games, 431 at-bats, 89 runs, 29 doubles, 30 homers, 91 RBIs, 267 batting average. So kind of shows you Torkelson's upside there. I love him going into next year. I believe I have him as a top 12 first baseman. I'm going to double check that for you guys going into next year. Yeah, I have Torkelson at 13, my 13th first baseman for next year.
Yeah, Torque is interesting. I mean, I like everything you said. It makes a lot of sense. Torque just really took a step forward and finally was starting to live up to what he could possibly be. I just want to see him do more. That's my only thing for next year. 13, I think, is a fair ranking. I'm probably going to have him lower, but because I haven't gotten to third base yet. Give me 2 days. But I like Torque. I like what he's doing. He's going to be definitely somebody that's going to be a nice little sneaky draft pick next year. Unless, he just decides to tear up spring training. We shall see. But let's move on. Let's talk about guys that really
comeback players. Guys
back.
that were very, very good, maybe slumped for a couple of years, and now they've come back to form.
Yeah. And one that I really touted all offseason was Nick Castellanos. Again, another Philly. Sorry. But
this guy saying he's not a homer and he takes 2 Phillies.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, this one was literally a product of my rule. New team, gonna suck. It's just a product of moving your whole family. And he went through a lot. He did not look good at all this year. It was atrocious. And people here were like, bro, this dude, why do we pay him so much? I'm like, yo, chill. Next year, he's going to bounce back. They're like, Matt, this kid's washed. I go, okay, sure. And he comes out and he does what he did. All right. 79 runs, 29 bombs, 106 ribs, 11 stolen bases, batting .274. everybody really counted this dude out because last year he played a full season and looked like doo-doo in the playoffs. 56 runs, 13 bombs, 62 ribs, 7 stolen bases, batting .263. Batting average went up 10. Home runs literally doubled and then some. Ribbies finally started to show up. And the best part is, too, Castellanos didn't even hit a bomb until May this year. Literally, here's the funnest part. So this year I traded for Castellanos. And Dom loves this. I made like some sneaky trade.
Matt got him for free.
Yeah, I literally, I'm sorry. I kind of bamboozled. And I stuck it in. I gave up almost nothing. And literally this was Saturday. No, this was Friday. He's in my starting lineup the next day and he hits his first bomb. And then he hits his second bomb. And then he kept going and going and going and going. Nick Castellanos, honestly, was one of the major bounce back players that you were able to get closer to pick 100. Like, he was nowhere near getting snuffed at even the top 75 picks. So he was another one that was like a great draft pick this year. You got a massive massive value on a dude that finished in 5 category and 6 category leagues as player 58. Like, you got a serious return on that. Way to go if you drafted Nick Castellanos this year.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Castellanos. I'm super happy to see that he bounced back. I was always a big fan of his in Detroit. Also, 37 doubles in those points leagues where you get in those extra points with doubles, 37 of them from Castellanos. Absolutely amazing. But, Matt, you did a great job there on Castellanos, so I'm just going to move on to my comeback player of the year. And it's Marcell Ozuna. Right before he got really red hot, he was like kind of good week, bad week, good week, bad week. And then he got really just red hot at one point in the season. And Matt and I told you to pick him up if he was still out there because he was still pretty much under owned. So this is a guy you could have got as a pickup. And look at these numbers that Ozuna winds up with: 140 games, 515 at-bats, 80 runs, 28 doubles, 37 home runs, which tied his career high from 2017, 93 RBIs, and a 270 batting average. Absolutely monster comeback year for Marcell Ozuna. On that Braves team, I still think he's going to be great for next year. He's 33. He's getting a little bit up there, but I still think he's going to be a guy that has that legit power, solid batting average. He's a career 268 hitter in 5,000 at-bats almost in 1,300 games, so you know that he can still put the bat on the ball. Just love Marcell Ozuna. I'm always happy to see, a guy come back and, get back to form. But with that being said, I'm gonna do a biggest bust here of the year.
Wait.
Oh, you want to hop in? You want to talk a little Ozuna?
Yeah, always skipping
go
me.
ahead,
You ever
brother.
noticed that?
No, I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about him. I know you're not a huge Ozuna guy.
Well, my thing is just a lot of his production comes in bunches. Like in May, he hit 9 bombs. In August, he hit 9 bombs. And then, 5, 6 home run months are not bad. Don't get me wrong. But then it follows with like a 209 batting average, a .85 batting average. Overall, he had a good season. It just came in bunches. He was like a hot, streaky guy that just really lit up the scoreboard in single weeks. So like, honestly, like I think some of those months that we're saying were really good were in a bunch, and then he cooled the hell off for the rest of the month. So Ozuna is not somebody that got there pretty. So, just we're talking about him because he was very valuable for fantasy, but he was somebody you were able to drop and pick up and ride the heater very well. So next year, I'm not going to be ranking him too high, but I am going to say, hey, he's going to be worth at least end of my draft kind of pick for me, at least.
Well, you're not gonna get. He's gonna be a
That's
top
fine.
outfielder. He's Dominican, man. Those Dominicans, they're used to the hot weather. As a shout out to my my boy JP. Yeah, he always told me the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans, they don't like the cold weather, so they're always bad during the first couple of months, but they always finish strong. Shout out to my boy JP, because that one always kind of rang true.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. So you want to talk about this bust?
I have one bust, and Matt, I think we're gonna agree on this one. Anthony Rendon. Just a quick 2 cents on Anthony Rendon, because he should have been in this comeback player of the year award discussion. But, ever since he had that interaction with the fan at the beginning of the season, I was just like, it was downhill from there. I know he was banged up again for most of the year, But even when he was healthy, it was disappointing. Only 43 games for Rendon this year, 148 at-bats, 23 runs. The 6 doubles were all right. 2 homers, 22 RBIs, 2 steals, 236 batting average. I think we've really come to the end of the road here with Rendon as far as his career goes. He's going to be 34 next April. I'm sorry. I was looking at when he debuted. No, he was born in June, so he'll be 34 next June. I'm out. I'm out on Rendon. I will not take him next year, even if it's my last pick. So, kind of over Anthony Rendon at this point. Disappointing year for him.
Yeah, you won't hear him in the preseason or draft prep at all. It's over. Bye-bye, Rendon. I don't like you anymore. But I got one last one. I'm going to make it quick because we're running short on time. We're going to talk about Luis Severino.
I like that one too.
Everybody drafted him higher than he should because he came back last year from TJ and really just did his thing. 102 innings, seven wins, 112 Ks, 3.18 ERA with a 1 WHIP. This year he came out with 89 innings, 4 wins, 79 Ks, a 6.65 ERA, and a 1.65 WHIP. It was absolutely atrocious season. What a bust. Quite honestly, I'm done with him for this year. He's really putting a bad taste in my mouth. Luckily, he's somebody we're going to be able to take flyer on next year as a possible bounce back candidate. He dealt with a lot of IL injuries, so maybe it was the injuries lingering all year, but he's not somebody I'm going to trust. So we'll see where I draft him. He might be like a pitcher 7 for me, if anything. Luis Severino, don't think of him as elite until he proves it in 2024.
Yeah, and he'll be on a new team next year, so we'll see how that goes for Severino. I don't think the Yankees are going to welcome him back next year, unfortunately. But, guys, that's all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And we'll be back on Monday. I think we're starting team recaps on Monday. So, guys, until then, see you.
Peace.